Hello and welcome to another LinkedIn live chat. Hello, Americans. What's cooking? You can find us here on LinkedIn every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And for those who are in the audience, usually every Thursday, we do have quite a fan base already. Please give us a shout out in the comments section. Ask your questions. We do appreciate your audience engagement and encourage you to do so. And I'm super excited about my guest today. Anthony, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
And thank you for jumping in last minute for our guest on the same topic on event design experiences. And we'll touch also a little bit on the event tech. But without further ado, tell us a little bit more about you, about your affiliations and organizations, because it's more than one, right?
It is. I'm slightly complicated. So I'm Anthony Vade, and my core role is as an event experience strategist with Encore. So I take care of many of our top clients and help them apply intentional frameworks and design strategies to how they create impactful event experiences. And I think most importantly, how they best measure success or failure at their events and optimize the technology and the experiences that they deliver at events. Now, I do that also with my other community, which is with the Event Design Collective, with whom I represent in the United States. So that's a global movement of event design practitioners who use predominantly the Event Canvas methodology, which few resources floating around behind me. And recently in early 2022, Encore went into a partnership agreement with the Event Design Collective to bring that to the United States. So really excited to have my two worlds collide, combining experience design, event design with that technology world as well, which I think we'll probably explore a bit more as we dig into this conversation.
And the two of us have been having numerous discussions about event experience design and how important it is to be more intentional about designing really experiences, especially in this post-pandemic world where we have to demonstrate some core value for our events. And before we go into our first question, just a quick shout out from Paul from DC and Mauricie. His boss was on our live chat last week. Thank you, Paul, for watching again.
Hey, Paul.
Whenever we talk, Anthony, I know we most of the time spend the discussion on our pet peeves. What are your pet peeves on when it comes to event design experiences?
Pet peeves, and I mean, we're going to start negative, isn't that tough? But I promise you, watching this, that we'll turn it around by the end. So let's put out some painful conversations to start. And my pet peeves, I'll give you two. One is going to be around mindset, which is a bit of a challenge coming out of a pandemic, and the other one's around time. So if we look at mindset, one of the challenges that we have industry-wide, I'd argue it existed a bit before the pandemic, but certainly since the pandemic sort of all affected us in different ways, but certainly everybody was impacted in some way, shape, or form. Some of us have fallen into a bit of a trap of falling into a scarcity mindset. We had everything taken away from us, or had many things taken away from us. Once again, everybody's a bit different, but that forced us to sort of look at our world and go, I don't have enough of anything. I don't have enough money, resources, time, energy, heart left in what I do. And so we get trapped in this cycle of focusing on what we don't have. And we start limiting our thinking. We start limiting how we approach our event creation and the things we do at our events because we're trapped in this. I don't have enough mentality. Instead, I'd like to turn that pet peeve around, and I'd love to really encourage the entire industry to start to have more of an abundance mindset. To sort of go, yeah, we've had some challenges. Yes, things have been scarce and inflation and everything that's coming, but there are still many opportunities before us. If we look for those opportunities, if we go into the world looking for abundance and seeing abundance in smaller places, then we can beat scarcity, and that will help our mindsets be open to new ideas and new experimentation with events. And then the second part I said was time. Everybody keeps telling me I don't have time to innovate. I don't have time to rethink what we do. And I keep saying to them, I get it. We're all under pressure. Our workloads are huge, but you're never going to find the time. You have to make the time instead. You have to allocate time to innovation. You have to allocate time for design, because it's never going to come. You're going to stay trapped in that cycle of never having enough and being scarce of time as well. So those are my two pet peeves.
And I do want to echo what you said. We've got the negative out of the way because we actually want to focus on the positive. And I think totally in support what you were saying. It is the opportunity. There's so much opportunity in front of us. And we just need to change our mindset. So thank you for setting the tone for our conversation. So how do you see events changing over the coming few years? And here is also a greeting from Amsterdam.
Oh, hey, love Amsterdam. We're great. And we just opened our first Event Canvas design suite in Amsterdam that went live yesterday. So check that out, everyone who's in the Netherlands. It's pretty cool. And there's more of those coming from what I hear. So what's coming? I think the industry did an amazing job, and especially a lot of in-house planners working within corporations did a great job during the pandemic of helping the executive teams around them lead the change that was happening through the pandemic. As people went remote, as meetings changed in scale and scope, and as hybrid workplaces sort of came to the forefront, a lot of event professionals within organizations stepped up and helped the leadership team understand how we can create experiences in the digital space and how we can bring about some of the outcomes that we normally get from events using only digital tools, as we were forced to at that time. And I think what the future is going to look like, and I think the biggest opportunity, and as we said, if we look for abundance, biggest opportunity for event professionals, especially within large corporations, is to continue that narrative, to continue talking about how they use events, whether they are back to in-person or whether they are fully digital or even hybrid, whatever that may look like, how we can make sure that our expertise as event professionals and the way that we are so well positioned to be human-centric, to understand the humans and how to design experiences for them, that opportunity for us to elevate our position within business is massive. And I think we as an industry need to support each other and skill each other up and make sure that we're comfortable having those executive level conversations about events, about meetings, even just the boring boardroom meeting. It's funny, it's called the board room because you often are bored when you're in that room. And I think you're going to see more event professionals, in-house planners being charged with changing the boardroom meeting, not just the annual sales meeting or not just the annual human resources morale meeting as well. So I think that's what's coming. We're going to be asked to do more. We're going to be asked to do more probably with the same amount of resources. And so it's going to mean that we're going to need to get smarter and really understand when we create events, whether they're in the boardroom or in the convention center, which parts of those are the most impactful. And let's just get rid of all the other noise around them. And let's be able to tell the executive, here's why we're doing this measurably. And here's the stuff we're getting rid of because it's a waste. And you can trust us that that's the right move to make.
And we'll get to the question of what changes will be coming, I think, a little bit later. One question I do have, how do you think and who's driving this change? Do you think we have a buy-in from the meeting planners? Should it be the event professionals? Are delegates driving that change? Who do you think is going to drive that change to really design those experiences?
I think event attendees in the short term will drive a lot of the changes to what happens at the event. And we're already starting to see that. I'm very privileged. I get to travel all over the world and attend events and analyze them with my team and understand what the attendees want at them. And one thing that I've come from every event that I've attended this year, the overarching analysis is the attendees, the delegates want to get together with each other and have conversations and rekindle relationships. They love knowledge, they love content, and content is still king of sorts, or queen maybe now, but it's still important. But what they want in the short term, because they were ripped apart, they want to have that face time with each other. And so I'm seeing a lot of traditional conferences and congresses falling into a bit of a trap of not allowing enough space for delegates to network and just have casual conversations and peer group networking opportunities. And that doesn't necessarily mean adding more parties to the event, but just making spaces more conducive to casual conversation and scheduling things that allow those conversations to have space to sort of grow and blossom. Now, I don't think that's what's going to drive the long-term change in the organization, because we're starved right now. We want to rekindle that, and we need that, but we're going to need to balance back out again to what these organizations need as well, what the corporations need, what the associations need. And so then as we move into 2023, 2024, we're going to want to keep that community-based element to everything we do, in person and digital, but we're really going to want to start to bring in some of those organizational aims again and find ways to bring those communities together now that they're back, bring them into that overarching change cycle that association needs, whether it's educating, growing membership, perhaps activating the community to be active together, or whatever those aims are. So many are now wrangling with this, I need to make this about my delegates wholly and solely and what they need now, which is that community, versus I need to create longer term change for the organization. And that's what the executive, the board of directors is telling me I need to create. So we're going to have this bit of a crossover moment over the next few years. And the best way I think for us to approach that is to get it down on paper and map that journey out that's going to happen so that everybody can see what's going on. Those delegates can see, hey, they heard us. They know we want to get together, we want to network, we want to have intimate moments that we haven't had. And then the board of directors and the senior leadership can still look at the plan and go, okay, I get it. We need to do that for them. We will get back on track, and we can see when those moments are going to happen that's going to drive forward what we need to.
And then one thing you were saying, create less is more, creating that space in the program, avoid over programming, but it doesn't necessarily mean let's just have more parties, but how can we create those spaces which allow for more focused networking? So it's not just here is your time and do what you think. You also try to shape and design some of those experiences to help guide your delegates. And we're coming to that first question I had before this. What can help us to be smarter?
Yeah. That's a great question. And perhaps I'll give you an example of a project I'm working on right now that sort of addresses that. We're mapping out what we're calling a content journey. So rather than just delivering the experience journey or just delivering a content plan for the event, we've actually organized with this association to do a keynote session, a plenary session in the morning that sets up a piece of content. It puts the big picture idea behind that piece of content, and it fits with what that day's theme is for the entire conference. And they're going to continue that theme throughout the day. Now, the delegates leave that plenary session in the morning that sets up the big picture, and they move into smaller breakout rooms that then dissect each part of the big picture with more focused content, but within a smaller group. So that they go from thousands to hundreds in the smaller rooms. So they'll do a little breakout concurrent session, as we used to call them. We don't want to call them that for this because it's not concurrent. It is linked, in fact. they'll come together, they'll dive a bit deeper, and then they'll bounce from that one into very small group conversations of no more than 5 people, where they then grab another piece of that content and drill even deeper into the particulars of that. And then all of the participants will report back to the larger group of thousands what came out of each of those sessions via digital channels after the event as well. So this content starts on the main stage, which we love to do. It moves into that sort of middle-sized sub-plenary / concurrent session room, and then goes into pure peer-to-peer group learning. And it feeds the digital channel afterwards. So the life of that content goes far past what most event planners and conference managers generally put in place. And we can actually share that journey with the attendees so that they can make sure that they jump on the right track and follow that over the course of 6 to 12 months even.
And you are setting me up for my next question.
Perfect.
What do you see the role of event tech in future? It helped us through the pandemic, but what is the role of event tech in the digital space, but also in the in-person space?
Yeah, look, and I've been very passionate about this for many, 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 many years. That event tech only has one sole purpose, as far as I'm concerned, and that is to enable, empower, and improve human connection. It only exists not to live on its own as, the robots in the machines, but it lives so that you and I can have this conversation, so that those at home can tune into this conversation and join the conversation and ask questions. So that when I pull this thing out of my pocket at the event, it can enable me to ask the speaker a question, even though I'm an introvert and I would never walk up to the microphone. Or because I happen to be living in Kenya and I can't get out at the moment, I can still participate in that event and join that community and interact with that content in a more accessible way that I could probably never afford to as well. So technology provides an equalizer, and as long as it's focused on enhancing the way that the human interacts with the other human, no matter where they are or the modality of their experience, then that is smart technology. And I think tech companies are waking up to that as we come out of this pandemic. They're good at being agile anyway, but those that are particularly agile are starting to go back to the drawing board and saying, yeah, everyone's talking about hybrid, but it's not so much about an in-person event and a digital event. It's about what the next thing is, which is those connected communities and those mechanisms and those technologies that enable better diversity, equity, and inclusion into the event design as well.
And I'm sure we could talk about this topic forever and ever. But for those people who want to learn more about the Event Design Collective, please visit edco.global. And for more information on Encore, it is encoreglobal.com. And I'm sure, Anthony, you will want to connect with anybody on LinkedIn who is interested. But before I let you go, because we are on Hello America's What's Cooking, any favorite recipes, tips, restaurants in Canada?
Oh my, there's so many amazing restaurants in Canada, in Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal in particular. So I won't call any one out specifically, because then I'll feel bad with all the other ones that I frequent. But I will say what a recipe that I'm going to be working on tonight. We're just wrapping up our gardening season in Toronto. It's getting a bit cold. So I harvested all of my tomatillos yesterday. So we're going to be making a pulled chicken enchiladas with, we're going to drown them in salsa verde tonight. So it's going to be the last hurrah for a Mexican summer before we head into a cold winter in Toronto.
That sounds absolutely delicious, and you'll come and warm up in Vegas in a week's time.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're always welcome here in California, where we always have some sunshine for you and warmth. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us. It was a pleasure having you, and looking forward to connecting with you in Vegas as well. For anybody who wants to join me as a guest, please feel free to email me at xenia.p@ecoworld.org. And next week, we will be hearing more about Houston from Daniel Palomo. So please stay tuned and join us next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.